Alright guys, so in this video I'm going to cover what I've been doing with the Nissan. I haven't really been able to do a whole lot with the Nissan just because I've been trying to work on the Audi, work on my buddy's Audi, work on the Veloster, so I haven't really gotten a whole lot done to the Nissan, but I started messing with it again. And so far what I've done is I've replaced every single sensor on the engine, just as a precaution. I was planning on replacing all of them anyway. Just when I replace a head, I usually try and replace all the sensors that are associated with the head as well. I know a lot of people don't do that, but I do that. But I started getting into trying to figure out why this thing still has that misfire, and I think I found out what the hell's wrong with the car. What's up guys? So it's a little dark and a little late out here, but I wanted to show y'all what I had found on the Nissan. Anybody who's been following along with my videos knows that I've been fighting with this Nissan with a misfire. Well, I believe I just found the problem, and it's a bigger problem than what a lot of people may realize. So when I went to pull this variable valve control valve out, these little screens right here, over half of them were missing. They were lodged up inside of the damn timing cover. They had broke apart and were filling up in the ports, and they were up inside the valve body itself. And I couldn't get all the pieces out. So what I wound up doing was I had my wife start the car and blow the pieces out with the oil pressure. I ran it for about 10 seconds. I watched it while she started it, and as soon as I saw oil come out, I had her turn it off. But that blew all the debris out of the upper timing cover, the front camshaft cover. I don't really know what to call it, but it's the piece that this is bolted into, and it goes right on front of the two camshafts. So, but these little pieces, one of them, a good chunk of it was missing, and it was up inside the oil feed tubes in there. So I'm gonna order a new variable valve and replace that and see if I can get rid of that misfire, because I was doing a lot of research, and this is what has been popping up repeatedly, is the variable valve control. And so I went to just pull this one out to inspect it. I had pulled the cover off repeatedly because I'd done the timing, but I never pulled the valve out of the cover. Well, when I pulled the valve out of the cover, like I said, part of this was missing, and it was all broken up. I mean, and some of the pieces were inside this valve, and then some of the other pieces were still up inside of the housing. So just wanted to point that out in case anybody's having a random misfire issue that they can't figure out on one of these things. I think this may be the answer. All right, guys, so I got a new variable valve timing control valve, and saw this little note inside the new box. So the OE manufacturer has made a design change to this part, and the screen filters are no longer required. I wonder if that's because the damn things keep breaking and going up inside the oil ports and freaking messing the engine up. So I got the new one. I'm gonna throw it in the car, see if that gets rid of the miss. Hopefully this is what the kicker to get this thing going. All right, guys, so I'm still going down the rabbit hole of what's wrong with this Nissan. I have replaced the VVT solenoid, and I also just got done replacing the camshaft phaser. You can do this without removing the engine from the car. I did not record it. It's relatively simple if you know what you're doing. So if you just want to replace this and you don't want to pull the entire motor apart, what you need to do is you need to pull the upper timing cover off. Once you pull it off, then you can you need to rotate the engine until you get both of the timing marks lined up on your camshafts. Once you get both, and it can take up to 70 turns to get these two marks to line up, but you keep turning it around until you get your two marks to line up. Once you get your two marks to line up, it took me about 25 turns to get mine to line up. So I got mine to line up, and then what I did was I put a magnet on the pusher for the tensioner to catch it in case it sprung out, and then I loosened the two 10mm bolts that held the tensioner in place, and slowly worked the tensioner away from the block while I had a magnet sticking to the plunger in case it shot, and got it out of the motor. And then once I got it out of the motor, I could pull the plunger out and drain the oil out of the inside of it, and then I was able to collapse it again, because you're not going to be able to collapse it with oil inside the piston. It just won't work. I tried to collapse it. It would not let me collapse it. Now, maybe if you let the engine sit for freaking 2-3 weeks, it may let you, but I let it sit for 2 days or 3 days actually, and it still would not let me compress it with oil. And when I pulled the tensioner off, it still did have oil inside the piston. So pulled the piston out, drained the oil out, and then I was instantly able to compressed it and put a pin in there to hold it in place. Held the chain in place, or I took the valve cover off and held the camshaft with a crescent wrench, and loosened the nut on the camshaft sprocket, or the cam phaser, and had the new cam phaser ready to go. So what I did was I picked up on the chain in the top corner with one hand and pulled the cam phaser out, and then slid the new cam phaser in and lined up my mark on my chain and the notch in the back of the cam phaser and held it in there. And then all I had to do was pull the chain over to the or pull the timing chain tensioner over, or the guide that the tensioner pushes on. Had to push it over against the chain and then slide the guide back, or the tensioner back in there, and bolt it in, and then pull the pin and rebolt the top in, or the top timing cover in. It was relatively simple. It took me about an hour. I really kind of wish that I would have filmed it, but I don't know why I didn't. I had my camera out. Well, I know why I didn't, because I did it when it was dark and I was using my phone as a flashlight. So it was so dark, even if I wanted to record it, I couldn't have. I started doing it early in the day, and it because of how many times it took me to rotate the engine, that's what took the longest. Doing the physical work of replacing the cam phaser once I got the engine showing to where the chain was in time, it only took me maybe 45 minutes. But getting it in time took almost an hour and a half. Because it wears on you unless you have some kind of automated wrench. I was not using the starter to turn it over because I didn't want to overshoot it. So I was turning it with just a regular wrench, and I didn't have the car jacked up. If I had the car jacked up, I probably could have done more than a quarter of a turn at a time, but I was only able to do a quarter turn at a time. So now I've got the cam phaser replaced. I've got the VVT solenoid replaced. Every other sensor on the entire motor is replaced. All the coil packs are replaced. The only sensors that have not been replaced are still the 3 that have not been replaced, which is the mass airflow sensor and the 202 sensors. Mass airflow sensor, I've cleaned it twice. Doesn't mean that it's still good, but I'm checking it with a multimeter. It's reading all the readings and resistance levels and all that, incoming voltage, all that's looking good. Same with the O2 sensors. The resistance readings and the power readings are correct. So I'm going to see if this cam phaser makes a difference in the miss at higher RPM, which I'm really hoping that it is, because I really feel like some debris came off of the screens on that VVT solenoid, and I didn't want to take a chance in running it without replacing the cam phaser because of how much of the screens were missing off that VVT solenoid. So let's see what happens. All right, guys, so up to this point, I've finally went ahead and replaced the mass airflow sensor, replaced both of the O2 sensors, just to eliminate any possible sensor issues. And I'm still not getting any check engine lights other than the random multiple cylinder misfire. So at this point, on the advice of, I've taken it to 2 of my buddies and had them scan it with their generic scan systems, and neither one of them would recognize the ECU. So what I'm thinking, and I could be totally wrong, but what I'm thinking is that the ECU is bad and I need to replace it. So I'm going to order another ECU, and I'm going to leave the one that's in it and drive it to Nissan and have them reprogram it so that the immobilizer works. Because right now, even though it's missing, I can still drive it to the Nissan dealership. It'll run good enough to make it to the Nissan dealership. It's only like 4 miles away from here. So I'm going to drive it to the Nissan dealership and have them recode the computer for the car so that I can just go ahead and hop in it and drive it away. And if that doesn't fix it, then I'm just going to leave it at Nissan and have them run their Nissan computer on it, because the two generic ones that I had trying to talk to it wouldn't. They would talk to it, but they kept saying that there was an error with the ECU. So I'm going to see what happens, and we'll just go from there. I've never experienced this problem before. Apparently, it's a pretty unique problem to the Nissans. There's actually a recall for the newer Nissan Sentras, but not for my model year Nissan Sentra. So took a lot of just piddling and trying to figure out what the hell was going on. What actually happened was, I had purchased a new ECU. I was going to take the car to Nissan to get them to recode it because of the immobilizer, because I'm not buying the software for the Nissan because I don't plan on keeping it. The whole reason I got the car was so that I could trade it for a truck. So I had bought another ECU. I was going to take it down to Nissan to get it recoded to the car, and I realized I needed gas on the way to go to the Nissan dealership. So I took stopped and went to put gas in it, and I couldn't put any gas in the stupid thing. It would put like a quarter tank, or not a quarter tank, a quarter gallon, and then it would trip out. Or sometimes it wouldn't even get a quarter of a gallon. It'd get like an eighth of a gallon, and it would just do the automatic trip. And it took me, 5 minutes to put $10 worth of gas in the car. I couldn't figure out what the hell's going on, so I came home, did a little bit of research, and figured that was probably what was causing my lean condition and my misfires, is because the Evap system's not working correctly. So I came back, started looking at the Evap system, and I found some pretty interesting shit in this Evap system. So I'm going to let y'all check out what I'm finding, show you what I'm going to do to repair it, and we'll go from there. But I went to the junkyard just 30 minutes ago and got all the parts to repair the car, and I also lucked up and found a set of 4 original wheels for the SER Spec V. So I bought all 4 of those wheels. I'm going to put the original wheels on there since it's got mismatched wheels on it now. And then I'm going to replace or fix the Evap problem, take it out for a drive, and hopefully this thing will be ready to pass emissions and I can put it up for sale. So hope y'all enjoy this. Okay guys, so I think I might have finally found the issue with the Nissan. So trying to show you the little vacuum vent valve behind the driver's side rear tire. And I just unbolted this sucker, and I don't know if y'all can see it or not, but okay, so let me move that hose out of the way. So when I've disconnected that hose from this fitting, it freaking poured water out of it. And now I got water coming out of the charcoal canister. The charcoal canister is full of freaking water. So I think that's what's causing my problem. Okay guys, so I just removed the charcoal canister, and this thing stinks horribly, but I wanted y'all to see this. It's full of fucking water. That's why the car's not running right. So I got to replace the charcoal canister and figure out what the fuck happened, because this thing's slammed full of water. You can see all the water down inside of there. I mean, this thing's full of freaking water. So yeah, fun times. All right guys, because everything on the Evap system on my car is filled with water, I went ahead and bought the entire assembly. So I got the control valves and everything. The only thing I didn't get is the vent valve. I'm going to buy a brand new one. They have a brand new one in stock at the local Advanced Auto Parts. Not the one right down by my house, but about 15-20 miles away from here. I'm willing to drive to get it. So I'm going to buy a brand new control valve to put in here, and then replace all the rest of this valves and hoses, because every one of them is full of water. So yeah, let me flip this around and show you what all I got for it. So I got 4 original wheels. So there's the original wheel that was supposed to be on the car. There's the one that I got out of the junkyard. Looks like that one's gunmetal gray. That's the only difference, but I'll use that one as a spare and put these other wheels on the car, because the the wheels don't match. But there's the other two wheels. And these are 18s and they're wider, and they don't fit right. I don't think they look right on here either. I don't like them. I'd rather have the original wheels. But the Evap canister, so this one I bought it with the all the new valves and vent valves. I don't know what all this stuff is. I haven't researched what each one of them is, but I know all of them had water in them on the original one on the car. So the original one on the car is mounted up here, so I'm right behind the driver's side, and it's mounted right up here. You can see I still have some of it mounted in there. So that entire bracket, I'm going to replace that entire bracket. So it's got 4 bolts that hold it in. You got 2 right there, 1 in the middle, and then 1 up in the very front. But I still got to disconnect some of those hoses because I'm replacing all of that stuff. So I'm going to replace that entire tank. That's the bracket. So you've got a mounting hole right here, and then there's the 2 at the back. But the charcoal canister has to be removed from the bracket in order to remove the bracket. But I wanted to replace all this stuff, so I went ahead and got it out of the junkyard car. Okay guys, so in order to replace the Evap canister and the bracket, you have to remove the Evap canister from the bracket in order to replace the bracket, because you can't get to these bolts without taking the tank off. So the tank is actually sitting inside of it's got some little nesting places that it sits in. You just pop it out of there after you take the 3 bolts out. So it's got a 10mm bolt here, right here, and right here. You take those bolts out, and then the tank can drop down, and then you're able to hang just a bracket. Now you can see I've got everything disconnected in here. So I disconnected a hose here, one here, another one here, and then disconnected my 3 electrical connectors. And now I'm gonna hook everything back up and show you when it's back in there. All right guys, so it's the next day. It's cold and rainy. Haven't been able to get the vent valve. The one that I was looking at was for the wrong year. They don't have mine in stock, so but I'm going to show you the wheels on it. I've got the whole Evap system back together except for the vent valve. I'm going to order a new one, and then I'll give you an update after I get that fixed. But I'll flip this around and let you see the car back with the correct wheels on it and everything. So there it is with all the correct wheels on it. I like it the way that it looks a lot better. Evap system's in, and yeah, car looks pretty freaking good now. I actually like it. So yeah, so I've ordered the vent valve. Hopefully have it by Monday or Tuesday, and be able to get this car done and move on to the next. Give you a couple updates on the Audi while I'm out here, because I can't really work on anything. But I did manage to find an original OEM black painted bumper, and I installed it on the car. It's no longer the one that I primer painted. It's also got a grill that's not missing the emblem on it and all that. Got the I had a coolant tank that was cracked. Had to replace the coolant tank, the overflow tank. Other than that, it's been driving good. I've put about 10,000 miles on it since I built it. I'll have another 40 to 50,000 miles on it by the end of this year, because it's January 1st right now. So January 1st next year, I'll probably have another 40 to 50,000 miles on it. But it's been driving great. Haven't had any issues out of it. I drive it every day. So yeah, I'll give you a better update on it when I do a little bit more stuff to it. I'm getting ready to do a front suspension rebuild on it, and probably start looking at doing body kits, start doing body enhancements on it. So we'll see. But if you like this video, please like, comment, share, subscribe. Let your friends see what I'm doing, and hope y'all have a great day.